Hey guys, welcome to a new review. What's going on here, Stumpy? No, I'm just introducing the new king. You know, it's the circus. No, Stumpy. Do that somewhere else. I'm sorry about that, guys. Hey, welcome to a new review. Now, in this review, I'm going to be reviewing the Series 2 Rick Grimes action figure from McFarlane Toys, of course. And this one's a little sentimental to me because this is my first, maybe second TV series action figure that I've owned. And this is the first Rick Grimes figure I've ever owned. He's not the greatest figure, but because of sentimental value, I have to keep him. I've never thought of getting rid of him, but for the price he's worth, I probably should. But anyways, let's take a look at some of his accessories first, then we'll go over his articulation and sculpt and paint. You know, actually articulation will be the last thing. So anyway, first he comes with this, I think this is like a, what do they call it, a leash of some sort that they use for animals on farms. But in the show, of course, he used this to like grab walkers around the head and pull them along. This was something Herschel used for rounding up the walkers. So we'd put that around there and pull them. And it's fairly nice. I like the little grip parts here. It's actually got sculpted details, but yeah, there we go. Then the front's painted red. It doesn't have a huge amount of detail, but the only way you could get this is by getting either this figure or the Series 4 figure. The exclusive, Walgreens exclusive, and either way, this is really hard to find, so I actually have an extra one of these, so perhaps if I sell it on eBay, people would want just this part. I don't know. I gotta wonder, maybe that is something that people would be looking for. I don't know. It seems like it could break easily, though, because these parts here feel a little like if you squoze too much, it would just crack and then it would be worthless. Anyway, so you also get two different pairs of hands, a rifle, and a pistol. I actually have two pistols on him right now because one is the original pistol that he came with and the other is a replacement pistol. Yeah, but I'll go over that in a second. Here's the rifle. We've seen this rifle many times, but I believe this was the first time that we saw this rifle. And it's actually a really good rifle. I have no complaints. It's just, okay, my one complaint is that now we see this so much that saying it is nothing big, but since he's the first one, I have to give him credit. This is a nice rifle. It's nicely sculpted, nicely painted, and its strap works. But I've had trouble where it keeps breaking at the places and I have to glue it down, so strap is rather okay. Front is rather weak, so if you are not too careful, it will break up there, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it won't break up here, and the paint looks pretty nice. It looks like wood, I would say, wouldn't you say? That's what's made to look like. I would say definitely got that down okay. So then we get, I'm going to take, here's the pistol that I use with him, because this is the only way that you can get him to hold the pistol and it'll look good, is if the bottom half of the trigger guard is broken off. Then you can sort of stick his finger in there and he holds it a little more straightly and it looks a lot more right. But then here's what happens if you have one that's not broken. So that was the original one that I had with him, and it broke, so I used it for displaying him with. But then it regularly, his finger won't go into that trigger holster, trigger guard, and it won't touch the trigger even. So it's kind of needed to have a broken one, just for that reason. But if you don't want to display him with a pistol, or if you don't mind having it look a little bit off, like it's not being held right, then fine. For me, I just need it to look like this because I'm weird. I'm weird. I need to have him touch the trigger, otherwise it's not going to work, right? Anyway, let's move on. I believe we should take a look at, well, let's just show you it's got nice silver paint to it, handles normalish. Yeah, no complaints. It's the Rick revolver, so if you don't know what that looks like, I can't help you. And so let's take that out. The hand is sculpted weird. This is the early series of figures, so McFarlane didn't really have down all of the little specifics and stuff, and for the hands, I mean, other than this, they had the original series figures hands, and here's the first Rick's body, and that's what his hands looked like, so their hands looked really weird. Let me show you what it looks like later on. So, like, here's Series 6 Rick's hands. It looks a little more tamed and small and a bit more accurate to a human size. But then compared to the Series 2 Rick here, it looks really weird. His hands are way too big here. And then these are maybe a little small, but they fit into scale, I think, better. Yeah. Alright, but that's not my only complaint that you'll be hearing with this figure. But anyway, I think this is a good figure for displaying, but if you've ever owned him, you know what problems there are. So, first off, changing out the hands is really hard. I kind of get the fear that it'll break because it's just this tiny nub that's in control of holding together this hand. And when you pull it off, it doesn't want to come off at first, so you gotta pull until it pops off. And then sometimes, like this hand, I believe, is a little looser than it should be, so it will fall off while you're displaying him. No, wait, this one is the tight hand. I actually have two different versions of these hands, but whatever. And then popping this one on is too tight. So, yeah. The hands are not easy to deal with. And this hand is meant for holding, I believe, both this accessory and this one. So if you lose any of these hands, you're pretty much screwed, because this hand is meant for holding the pistol because its thumb is permanently locked to the other fingers here, so it's like this permanently. Yeah. And then with the other hand, it's way too large in an open way, and it looks kind of really freaky. I mean, proportionately, this is the hugest hand you've ever seen. Make all the jokes you want out of whatever that is, I don't know. But, yeah, there's just definitely something wrong with how big they made that hand. And then the other hand, this hand doesn't look too bad because it's flat down. It's just like a hand where he would be like gesturing, maybe like saying, stop, don't do this, come here, pull it back, or, I don't know, like counting things off, 1, 2, 3, but smacking people like his wife, like he did in the show. But then, yeah, the other hand doesn't look so fine, and let me just show you. It has his little ring there. I like that on his ring finger. And it's painted, but then the inside doesn't look right. That looks wrong. It's well done. I mean, it's fairly well done. Let's pull out the other hand. It's a gripping hand, and if you have this hand on just normally, it looks weird. So if you like lose the open-handed hand, then this doesn't look right, just displaying him like this. It doesn't look natural, and it's a huge hand. This hand is like bigger than it should be as well, so these two giant hands here just, I mean, before you got the recent figures and saw how a hand should look, it probably didn't look too ridiculous, but in comparison, come on. Those hands are ridiculous. That's like, people called him the gorilla one because his arms are so long and his hands are so huge, and I can definitely dig that. So, but then again, these are built just specifically for him to hold his accessories. Let's see how he does that. And keep in mind, other figures that came with this rifle couldn't actually hold it in a way that looked like they would even be able to shoot it. So, yeah. For him to actually have specific hands made for it is not that bad, but I would rather it be like the future ones where just because he came with it doesn't mean that he has to be able to hold it. Ugh. And not like he can hold it perfectly anyway. I mean, here's pretty much the main position that you'll be able to get him out of. If you do it just right, you can make it look like he's looking down the scope, but he's never going to line up just exactly the way he should. Just take a look here. See, that's the closest you'll get, because from this side, Looks like he's looking through there. From here, not so much, but from here definitely shows that he's not looking at that scope. I suppose there it would work, but again, you have to trick angles because he's not actually being able to hold it to his face. And that bugs the crap out of me. OCD kicking in, but anyway, it does hold, and his big hand here holds it fairly nice, and when he's holding the rifle, he doesn't look like his hands are huge. Does it look wrong to you? I mean, from here, it looks like it's in scale, but then without that rifle in his hands, it definitely looks off. See? Big clunky hands. So far the problems we have are the hands and basically not being able to hold his accessories right. Like, this can't hold the pistol right. This can't hold the rifle. His arms, really, the articulation, his arms can't hold the rifle right. And these hands don't look natural. So those are our problems right there. And let me show you what it looks like if you try and put this pistol in this hand. It's just way too big, so it won't hold, but can't get the finger through the trigger. You'd have to, like, just set it in there. So yeah, you really can't use the pistol in this hand and make it look right. You make it look like he's just holding it, but if you want him to look like he's shooting it, his finger would not be outside of the trigger. Just little things like that bug me just for, I don't know, it's probably not a huge deal, but when all these things mount up together, it is a bit of a problem. Okay, so let me pull these hands off and put on the, oh no wait, first let's see this accessory. Now, this hand's too big to grip it like single-handedly too well. You'd have to kind of lean it in there, and it's very loose. But the other hand, I believe, is pretty good at holding it in a way that gives it a little more sturdiness. So double-handedly, he can hold this pretty well, if you do it right. But the problem is, this is just way too thin of a accessory, and really it's not that flashy looking. I would not want to pose him like that. So mainly this accessory is not even useful there. His hands are off, and his weapons don't really match with the hands they give him. Jeez, feels like I'm gonna break it. Okay, there we go. Okay, hands off. This hand is extremely loose on mine, so the left hand there. Let me pop on the hands again. So that sucks, and let's take a look at his paint and sculpt real quick. Then we'll take it the articulation last. So he's got this strap on him that's his gun belt, or holster there, and the gun fits in there very nicely, a little loosely. You can dig it in though, it's rubber, and it feels like it will tear off if you're not careful. It's got some nice sculpted pouches on there, which I think all of the Ricks have, and then his t-shirt looks off. It definitely makes him look too thick, like he's been eating too many porterhouse steaks or something. Yeah. And then his face does look like Andrew Lincoln. Let me get some light in here. Yeah, so I'm definitely seeing a likeness to Andrew Lincoln. The only problem is it's not painted in just the right way to actually, yeah, to just justify the sculpt. But it's not horrible. Compared to some of the paints and sculpts that we've gotten with these guys, this is probably like a 7 out of 10. Definitely not the worst. And his hat is really nice. It's sculpted normally, but it's not one of those that you can just pull off like the Carl head that we have now. Let me re-angle my lights. There we go. And his arms are sculpted. I don't know if it's the arms are too long or the hands make the arms look too long. I'm not sure about that, but it's definitely something wrong with the arms here. Then the legs, this is a big problem. I mean, they're sculpted nicely, but they're in a weird pose so that he's always sort of tilted at the hips. and leaning over to one side. It's a weird look, and that definitely causes problem for the articulation. McFarlane mainly does statues, and this was their first attempt at like an action figure line, so I don't really blame them for sucking so bad at first, but it's definitely not, it won't hold a candle to the figures nowadays, so if you're going to buy this figure now, I would not expect it to be very good. I definitely don't get your hopes up thinking it's a really good Rick figure, but it's not bad. So the sculpt is pretty nice. There, yeah. And then the shirt looks too dirty. It looks like he fell in sewage and then, I don't know, cut his ear and blood dripped down. But I don't think it should be quite that dirty. Sure, Rick's had a dirty shirt for a lot, but on an action figure, have some blood, no need for the poop. Okay, but then we get to the articulation. Let's start with the head. Head can do a full 360. It can look up a fair amount. It can look down pretty well. It can do head pivot. Okay, shoulders, full 360. It can move up to a right angle, so that's really nice. And then elbows can bend to quite a bit past 90-degree angle, at least there. Can move out straight, full 360 at the elbow. Full 360 spin at the wrist. Looks like, yeah, 2 full 360 spins. And then can move up and down in a rolling dice position or scratch at the wall pose. And the other arm can do about the same, except for it doesn't bend as much. It bends to almost a 90-degree angle. It can spin at the shoulder, of course, move up to same amount. And basically it's the same everywhere except for the elbow, where it can spin 360, but it just can't bend right. Can go back that much. And then at the waist there's a little bit of spin, not enough to actually like get anything new out of that. Like if you spin it this way, it's not going to look much different than it was this way. And now we get to the very least part of him. His legs. This leg doesn't want to move because of the strap here, but let me move that. Yeah, that leg doesn't want to move like at all, but there we go. There we go. You can kind of get him in the worst sitting down position possible and make him look like he's just like sprawled out on the floor here, but sitting is not possible. And let me pull out a vehicle to show you how badly this works. Okie doke. So there he is sitting in a vehicle. It's just not happening. He's kicking his foot out there. I guess he's trying to trip zombies as he drives by. It's just, if you can't sit a figure down in a vehicle, then there's a bit of a failure on your part. But just because sitting down means like the very basic part of articulation, and if that can't be done, then it's just give up. It can move, you know, like just that far out to a point where he looks like he's sort of kicking, can move back. That's it for the leg articulation, except for the feet can move a little. Can move like up and down a little and then side to side. Just like absolutely nothing worthy, to the point where you can't actually make him do any other pose without him falling over. So it has to just be this one pose. And it's not a horrible pose, it's just so basic, him standing up straight. Ugh. Not that an action pose would be all that much greater, but I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you think he's a pretty good figure? My recommendation, if you see him cheap, certainly pick him up, because he is a rare figure. And let's say you're not going to sell him, but you just want him in your collection, he's definitely cool to have for that reason, but I would not go out of my way to actually buy this figure. Just because if you want him for his head sculpt, they have a Walgreens exclusive that has great articulation compared to this guy. And the head sculpt's the same, you just have to kind of fix up that eyeball that's always off. So, which one do you guys prefer? Walgreens exclusive or Series 2 figure? For me, probably this guy. Yeah, definitely this guy. Okay, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure to tell me what your favorite Rick figure is overall. Mine is probably the Series 8 Rick, because that's my favorite figure overall of all the Walking Dead figures. So, anyway, make sure to stick around for my giveaway contest, which is going to happen soon once I get 100 subscribers. I'm only 4 away, at least currently. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.